All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Tuesday, December 7th, 2021. So we're getting the follow-through move here that we talked about yesterday. Yesterday we said we weren't really convinced of this rally, and VIX was kind of holding up here. If we take a look at the VIX, VIX was kind of just hugging this trend line. Now we're seeing the VIX cut in half a little bit, typical of what you see when after the market's bottom here. But the VIX is holding last week's low, so this is local support. We also have that little 20 MA there. So VIX is holding up a little bit, and we're seeing the markets kind of come off the highs just a touch here in the final half hour or so. Lot to cover here, though. So essentially, this market is just such a seesaw with sentiment. It's very remarkable. So, and I'm almost seeing a scenario where we could have kind of a 2015 where we just kind of just chop for a really long time sideways. And the reason for that is it's like the bears are not convinced of any rally. And every time the market has any sort of dip, the bears are always shorting the lows. There's somebody out there shorting the lows, and it's giving juice to the short squeeze. And then we get back up. Maybe we make a new high. Maybe we get close to highs, and then it rolls over again. And it's like the sentiment, in order for a market to go one way or another, the sentiment has to be in a position where you're really one-sided, and that's going to give you the fuel to move in the opposite direction. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. The market gets one-sided. It's all bearish, and people are shorting the lows like idiots. And then this is what happens. And then we get up here, and everybody's bullish. And then remember, in the end of October, beginning of October, everybody was bearish. And then it took 2 weeks, and everybody was bullish. And now, we come down, and the sky is falling here. And now it's you can buy now because you're never going to get stocks this cheap again. And it's just the sentiment seesaw is really remarkable. And I could see this going on for a while if we don't get some type of a decisive move one way or another. But the sentiment is ridiculous. This is a little fake print here on the spiders, by the way. So we never dipped down that low, but we did have a massive gap on the chart here. If you look at the triple Qs, look at that big gap there. Also on the diamond here, big gap up above the 20 moving average. So Dow looking pretty bullish here. Russell finally getting a bounce, although coming off the highs. And this may actually stay inside. Let's take a look here. So the high 224.21. Get that exact there. So Russell 2000 may actually close below. So this is technically inside bar here on the Russell still. Let's take a look here at the market. So fading a little bit intraday here as the VIX gets a little bit of a bounce. You're seeing the semiconductors sort of lead here. Nice huge gap up there. Semis are almost back to all-time highs. NVIDIA having a big day. Let's take a look at the hourly. This is into some resistance, though. This is where you broke down here. You got some pivots up here as well, so NVIDIA probably needs to pull back. But Intel was the big winner, so that had a big gap up today, although coming way off the highs. So bit of a mixed bag here, but semis are holding up very well. Also, IGV, I tweeted this out yesterday. I said, this is a really high risk-reward setup if you want to take a swing long, and that up over 4% at one point today, now coming off the highs as well. We're seeing a little bit of an uptick in volume here. VIX is getting a bit of an uptick, but not a lot of volatility on the downside. So market is still kind of in float mode, but we do need to be cautious here because if this rally gets faded, it's going to get ugly very quickly. But as of right now, market is holding up, and it's just this market is very sentiment driven. Notice how the last couple of days the news has all been bullish, really all over the weekend and yesterday and today. The news has been bullish, not a peep about the variance. But last week it was just nonstop bad news, bad news, bad news. And the market makers and the powers that be use the news to control the algos and control the market. And you have to be aware of those things. But in any case, nice rally today. So a few things that are a little bit weaker. Tesla, not really, up 3%, but this still inside of Thursday's red bar here. So not a very inspiring bounce there on Tesla. We talked about Intel, that coming off the highs. Russell 2000, that's fading back a lot of those gains. That's not a good look there for the Russell, to be completely honest. So there is a little bit of weakness. Broker dealers having a nice bounce here, but still well off the highs. And Dow Transports, nice little bounce here, but this is also kind of following the Dow, which is outperforming a little bit. But we talked about this being support. Had a nice little wick through that, closed below it, and then nice reversal there on the transports there. Let's move on. Let's talk about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is into some resistance here. You got up to this 52 handle, which I said would probably be a little bit of a test there, and that is coming nicely off the highs there. But again, if it's gonna continue higher, it's gonna need to fill this gap. It's gonna need to get back above this trend line and probably consolidate. There's a lot of selling that happened over the last week or so, and those sellers are not going to just go away. So Bitcoin right now, I would say like I'm neutral to bullish right now on Bitcoin. You did have that big test candle that you can't see on this chart, but we had that big test candle. But as of right now, it is finding some resistance here at that 52 handle. So at the moment, it just has some work to do if it's going to push higher and make new highs. Market's coming in a little bit here. So we have that 50 moving average. We'll keep an eye on that. Russell 2000 fading pretty nicely here in the final 10-15 minutes. Let's look at gold. So actually gold having a decent day. You can see the GLD on my screen here. Had a nice pop in the first half of the day. Came off the highs. Now getting a bit of a bid here again. It's trying to hold this trend line, but again, it's still just kind of in no man's land. Silver looks much worse, to be completely honest. It's just having this inside bar here, and that could set up to make a move lower. But again, if it reverses and you get back above 23, then it could cause a bit of a squeeze here and it could move higher. But again, nothing really to do with the metals right now as far as a swing trading basis. The one thing I will say for them is GDX came off the highs a little bit, but was up much more earlier today, as was the SIL. So the miners are looking a little bit better. So that's kind of your silver lining there, is that the mining stocks are starting to lead. And usually when they lead, that signals a rally for the precious metals. Let's talk about crude. So crude coming off the highs, but nice little pop here again. Again, wishing it got a little bit lower. Would have loved to pick up some UCO, but nice little pop there on crude. It's still in kind of no man's land though. Look at all this. Look at this giant red bar. That's a lot of selling. You're going to have some resistance up here at 75, 20 moving average down sloping, 100 moving average right there. So if it gets up in this area, it's probably going to stall out. Maybe it gets as high as 77, but that would probably be the max move here in the near term. Nat gas also getting a little bit of a bounce here. Still kind of just hanging in there, looking at this 50 moving average. We'll see if we can get a bid off of that level there. And then at that point, you probably fill that gap. But ultimately, I think nat gas heads lower, but this is a pretty decent level here of support in the near term for natural gas. I think that's about it. All we had to cover, really. We can talk about yields a little bit. So the triple Qs are leading right now. They are up the most, almost 3% really, and that's because of the semiconductors, but yields are also higher. So again, typically when yields are up, tech is down and the Russell is up, or financials are up, and the Russell is coming way off the highs here. So a little bit of a divergence again, something to monitor, but yields getting a bit of a bounce. They were really oversold. I still don't think that this bond market volatility is good for the overall stock market. I mean, think about where you were. We were at 1.7 2 weeks ago, and we crashed all the way down to 134, and now we're back up to almost 1.5 in 2 days. So just major bond market volatility. That's usually a bad sign for the stock market. But price action on the spiders has held up, and we'll just continue to watch it here. Now your next levels here to watch on the market. We'll go to the hourly. The E-mini, this is going to be right here, right about 47.07. That's going to be your major level. That's where you broke down. And on the NQ, it's going to be right around here, around 16,440, 16,450, that kind of area. So that's where you broke down there. It's pulling back a little bit. Look how extended we are from that 20 moving average on the hourly. So wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of chop before it can attack that area. But again, market's now getting a little bit of a bid here. Again, volume, is picking up, but the volatility is not very good here. So market looks like it wants to hold up into the close. We got about 5 minutes left. Anyways, we'll continue to monitor this. We'll see if we get more follow through tomorrow. And we'll see if maybe we get a little bit of pullback and maybe retest, maybe try to fill this gap here. There's a massive gap left on the chart here on the spider and really on all the major indices across the board. But really the Russell 2000, bit of a disappointment here to see that gap up so nicely, get through this red bar and then close below that. So there's still some sellers in here on the small cap front. Anyways, guys, I will be going live at 4:30. It'll be a private stream for patrons only. So that is exclusive to that. But in any case, you guys take care. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.